I'm Cheyenne. This is the Book Mermaid. I'm gonna do the Get to Know Me Fantasy Reader tag. If you're new here, nothing will be different for you. But if you're not new here, normally when I do tags, I pick books that are off of my TBR as well as books that I've already read. But for this, the questions aren't like pick a book. It's just kind of a literal like answering questions about yourself kind of thing. So we won't be doing that today, but let's just get going. I will link everything down below. I wasn't tagged, I just want to do it. Question number 1 is your fantasy origin story. How you got to read your first fantasy book or the first fantasy book that you read. And no one who's been on this channel for more than 5 minutes will be surprised that it was Peter Pan. So Peter Pan is the first fantasy novel that I remember reading. It's the first fantasy novel that I remember loving. I did read Harry Potter, but I was never like super into it like everybody else was. I loved Holly Black when I was growing up as well, but Peter Pan, man, I fucking love that book. Still, to this day. I'm gonna just read these because I can't memorize them and I don't want to. So, question number 2, if you could be the hero or heroine in a fantasy novel, who would be the author and what one trope would you insist be in the story? Okay, I have 3 tropes. Deal with it. But it would be Rin Chupeco. She wrote the Bone Witch series. I love the Bone Witch series. She is amazing. Oh, just... Also, side note, sidebar, according to her website, she's writing a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I am so fucking excited. She's barely like made any progress with it at all, but eventually, someday. This is very exciting news. But I would want Hate to Love, which is more like a romance trope than a fantasy trope, but I don't give a shit. That's what I would want. I would want the old wizard, like the mentor. Like I fucking love Merlin type characters, okay? I just, grumpy old men, love it. Love it. Zed, Zedekiz Zulzarander from the Sword of Truth series. And dark elves. Like I love elves and fae, but like dark elves? Here for it, 100%. Question number 3, what is a fantasy you've read this year that you want more people to read? So we're only like 3 months into the year, but I am picking Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Actually, it's right here. I had some thoughts. This is a book we read for the Sisterhood of the Traveling Books Book Club. There's a live show on Yumi Yamamoto's channel. I really loved it. Yumi really loved it. Ali didn't care for it, but this book, man, it's so good. There's a lot of like history and info about Yale and like New England, but I live in New England, so you know. Oh my god, I love this book so much. I just want more people to read it so I can talk to them about it and we can all live in our pain that it's going to be a while before we get the second one. Question number 4, what is your favorite fantasy subgenre? What subgenre have you not read much from? So my favorite fantasy subgenres are grimdark, fairy tales, and low fantasy. I'm trying to expand more into like higher fantasy, adult fantasy kind of things. What else have I not really? I haven't read a lot of sword and sorcery, I don't think. I've been very much in like one lane in my fantasy until the past like 2 or 3 years, so I'm like slowly expanding while also expanding the genres that I'm reading, so it's a slow process, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Grimdark is a new one that I found out that I loved because, you know, Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. So good. Question number 5 is who is one of your auto-buy fantasy authors? So Mark Lawrence, which is a cop-out because I've only read the Book of the Ancestor series, but I will be purchasing any of his new releases and I will be getting to his backlist eventually. Rin Chupeco, I fucking love her. Her books are so good. The Bone Witch, she has Wicked As You Wish, which came out. Stephanie from Miss Richard Reads actually bought that re-release for me because she is a fucking gem of a person and I'm so excited to read that too. But I'm waiting for all these readathons to be done so I can really sit and enjoy it. That's too much information for you for this thing. And Holly Black, because Holly Black has been one of my favorite fantasy writers since Tithe came out in like 2005 or something. Question number 6. How do you typically find fantasy recommendations? Goodreads, YouTube, podcasts, Instagram. So YouTube, Goodreads, and just like my friends, I get a lot of book recommendations from Yumi and Ali and Diana and Steph and Rachel. They highly recommend a lot of books, and because they really enjoyed it, they want me to really like to read it, and if I really enjoy it, we can enjoy it together. It brings us closer. We're really good friends. I love them so much. But for the most part, it's just like YouTube. What question am I on? Question number 7. What is an upcoming fantasy release that you're excited for? Mark Lawrence's The Girl in the Stars, which is the continuation, like, offshot series thing for the Book of the Ancestor series, and I'm getting so worked up because I'm so excited. I'm so pumped about this book, and I have been screeching about this series ever since I read it. It's gonna be so good. I have the audiobook pre-ordered. If you're gonna read these books, you should read them on audio because woof. Question number 8. What is one misconception about fantasy you would like to lay to rest? There is no required reading to like fantasy. You don't have to read The Wheel of Time. You don't have to read the Sword of Truth series. You don't have to read Lord of the Rings. You don't have to read Game of Thrones. You can like fantasy based on what you like about fantasy. There isn't like, it's not that you have to read certain amount of books or certain types of books before you can be let into the club. You like fantasy? Say you like fantasy. That's the end of it. And stop making people feel shitty for not reading your favorite books. Fucking assholes. Question number 8. Nope, we just did that. And the last question is, if someone had never read a fantasy book and asked you to recommend the first 3 books that come to mind as a place to start, what would those recommendations be? Okay, so that would depend on like who this person was. So I have a list of books that I made for this. And obviously I chose, the first one was Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I think that is a good gateway book for like adult fantasies. I think if you like books with female friendships in them and complicated female characters, if you don't really care about knowing all the rules to magic systems, that would be a great one for you. If you like books that are steeped in like history or some like based on some sort of culture and have darker elements to it, I would say read The Bone Witch by Richard Pecco. So good. If you are primarily a middle grade contemporary reader, I would say read Peter Pan. That is a great series. Great series. It's only 1 book. It's a great book. And it's also a classic, so you get into that. If you didn't want to read a classic, I would say read The Spiderwick Chronicles by Holly Black, which is a really quick, like, oh, I have that, actually. Hold on. Aha! See? It's a big old fancy copy. I should reread these. Ooh! I forgot, there's a map. Oh, I forgot that the inside looked like that. If you're really into history, I would also say Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. If you're primarily just like a contemporary romance reader, I would say the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. And if you're a like hardcore feminist, I would say read the Toil and Trouble anthology, which I also have right here. Hold on. This bunch of short stories about women in witchcraft. Very good. Very, very good. Do check the trigger warnings for it though. So that's it. That was the tag. I guess I need to tag some people. I tag Yumi from Yumi the Book Demon because she has been getting me to read like the Victoria Schwab books. She's very into me reading those. Allie from Diagon Alley 394 because she reads a lot more fantasy than I ever have. Stephanie from Miss Richard Reads. That girl not only reads fantasy, but like reads everything. So, and Rachel from Reads with Rachel, and Diana from Paperback Jedi. You know what? And Zach from Zach Tries to Read, because he doesn't like Ninth House, and I'm still gonna fight him about it. So, there you go. Okay, so let me know down below if you liked Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and if you're gonna read Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. Have a great day. This was fun. I liked this. Okay. Bye.